Hello and welcome to our weekly edition of Inenco's Energy News. Last week, Ofgem approved a massive raft of changes to the way that network operators charge for distributing electricity. These charges, known as DUOS, currently make up about 20% of the price a business pays for its electricity. The new approach was developed by the network operators and is designed to provide a common approach to the way that costs are calculated. One of the most obvious changes is that the traditional day and night periods have been replaced by a new three-tier structure described as red, amber and green. Nick, why do we need to move from day and night periods to this new structure?
It's important to remember, Kate, that the DUOS charges pays for the network that brings electricity to all customers. The demand on the network varies across the day, and this variation was the basis of the day-night split. Daytime consumption carries a higher charge because the network has to be sized for meeting peak demand. The new periods reflect times of high, medium and low demand. These periods are different depending on the area of the country. So, for example, in London, the red period runs from 10 AM to 1 PM and then from 4 PM until 7 PM. In the east of England, only the 4 till 7 period is classed as red. The extra red periods in London reflects the influx of commuters, while the second period comes from people returning from work.
So how will charges change for these new periods?
Because the red period is tightly focused on times of peak demand, the charges in these periods are much higher than at other times of the day. The charge in the red period will be almost 10 times higher than that in the medium demand orange period.
Will all customers feel these changes equally?
At the same time that these new charging periods are being brought in, the ways the network costs are allocated to different types of users are changing too. Because up until now, networks have used their own methods to calculate charges. Moving to the new common method means that charges for some customers will rise while others will fall. There are some areas of the country where these changes will impact heavily on businesses, such as South Wales, Scotland and the southwest of England are the areas which are particularly affected.
Can organisations do anything to minimise the impact of these changes?
Of course, the more energy a business uses in the red periods, the bigger the impact of these changes will be. With many organisations working extended hours or even 24 hours a day, it's unlikely that they can avoid these increases. The only realistic approach is to look for ways to reduce your consumption. In an office building, for example, a building energy management system can be used to make sure that the majority of systems are turned down or off as soon as most of the staff have left the building. For manufacturers, this is unlikely to almost impossible. Alternatively, if it's practical, then on-site generation can reduce the amount of energy drawn from the grid, especially at these peak times. This might be through the use of existing standby generation, through a CHP or some other type of renewable generation.
Will these changes affect all renewable generators?
Small and medium-sized generation projects are connected into the distribution network. This means that power can be produced close to the point where it's needed. This can reduce the transmission costs of bringing all the electricity needed across the whole network. Because of this, embedded generators get credits from the network operators for power that they export, especially during peak red periods. Of course, at the moment there are real limitations on how much embedded generation the network can accept. But as the networks are developing in the coming years, this amount will rapidly increase. This will be an additional incentive for generators who can get connection to the network.
That's all from Nick and myself for this edition of Inenco's Energy News Update. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.